What's up, everybody? All right, I'm just waiting for a few people to get in here. Wait for some of the homies to come through. We gonna get started, y'all. Anyone, everybody, thank you for coming in tonight. Hope everybody is doing all right. A lot of stuff going on in the world. A lot of stuff going on in the world today. We're gonna try to talk about a few things. I want to have a conversation with y'all. So please don't let me just talk to myself. Please chime in, jump in the chat. Let me know what y'all think. It's not worth it if I can't engage with the people. I hate talking to myself, man. 1 second. It seems like as soon as I get ready to go live, my kids like to go in the background and start banging every noise making item they could find to distract me. It's crazy, but that's why we love them. That's why we love them. So let's start with, let's see, what's everybody, what y'all want to talk about tonight? I got a couple things on my list, but I want to see what's on y'all minds before I get started. For those of y'all who are new here, my name is Dr. Bruce Strouble. I am an activist, educator, and I'm the author of By Any Dreams Necessary, Anti-Racist Strategies for Sustainability, Resilience, and Environmental Justice in African American Communities. This is my new book, which I consider to be my roadmap, my black plant blueprint for how Black communities, African American communities, people of African descent living in the United States take the necessary steps to secure justice and to create thriving, lasting communities, as opposed to just surviving day by day and living under the brutal boot prints of white supremacy through a climate crisis. Just an unsustainable situation. So I sat down and took the time to look at all the research I could find, all the ideas from every discussion, every organization I've watched, see what was working, and try to put together something that we could use to kind of see ourselves through this labyrinth. So yeah, I just come here to discuss the book and discuss some of my ideas and see what's on people's minds, so we can keep this energy elevating. So talk to me, y'all. What's up? No comments yet. Only one viewer. Oh my gosh. Okay. Guess I'm gonna talk to this one person, whoever you are. Thanks for being here. All right, well, let's get started, y'all. All right, so I think before we get to the war in Iran and Israel and all that stuff, let's talk about the federal attacks on environmental justice grants, because that's something that impacts me personally in a lot of the work I do. What happens when $600 million in environmental justice grants get yanked? We saw that a federal judge recently ruled that the EPA unlawfully pulled those funds meant for communities of color. And that's exactly what happens. Now, as I've been talking to people in the field and in the industry, the greatest concern is that the Trump administration is not going to do nothing about it. Like, they don't care. They've been positioning themselves to be able to supersede or ignore federal decrees. So, I unpacked this in my book, actually, on how organizing isn't just a moral obligation, it's tactical as well. And that we need to continuously be organized so that we could better weather these types of attacks. Because I think what happened ultimately is that we're trying to use the conventional methods, and the oppressors are not participating or playing by their conventional means. So it's always important to be organized. It's always important to have backup strategies and backup plans and security protocols from when this type of unlawful activity starts to operate. But this is basically white supremacy, environmental racism via policy, cutting EJ grants, environmental justice grants. And let me explain for those of you who may be new to the field. Environmental justice grants they're called DEI by our oppressors, but in actuality, what they are they're methods to make sure that resources go into communities that have been heavily impacted by toxic pollution and are on the front lines of environmental racism, our environmental abuse and injustice, and the climate crisis. So where those impacts are the worst, we try to put money into those communities and do activities to mitigate the impacts. There was a lot of funding sent to those communities by the Obama administration, followed up by the Biden administration. The Trump administration has been adamant about not supporting people who are trying to clean up or live or improve their health in their communities. It's probably one of the most glaring differences between, people like to say the parties are the same. This is the area there's no similarities, right? You have one side that is completely in bed with big oil and with the corporations. You have the other side, which is not great, but they will at least give communities a modicum of resources to survive in horrible circumstances. Trump is adamant about not supporting that. He calls it illegal DEI. He's defunded many of the programs, destabilized many of the organizations that were trying to fix these situations. And I mean, it's been a pretty terrible situation for people there. But I think ultimately what has to happen is people have to stick to their grassroots foundations. A lot of the organizations that jumped in at the last minute, they weren't EJ organizations anyway. It was people, as the money became available, it was people coming out the woodworks like, hey, we do EJ, trying to chase those grants. And it got really ugly. It crowded the situation. It made it take a lot longer for the communities that most needed the funding to get access to it. So now when the Trump administration finally comes to cut the funding out, or Trump Musk, because, Elon Musk was big on that as well, we see the impacts hitting the people who most need it. Those other organizations that weren't really about EJ, they're able to go back to whatever they were doing beforehand. But those of us who were really doing the work, we're going to be the most impacted. It's crazy because, I was in Philly this past weekend and I was in an Uber and I was talking to a brother and we were talking about electric vehicles because he had a nice car. And he was telling me I should get a Tesla. And I was like, nah, I don't really rock with Elon like that. And he's like, oh, what's wrong with Elon? You don't like how they was restructuring the government? He thought it was a good thing. He was like, he didn't know anyone who had been impacted by it. And he was like, that stuff doesn't really impact Black people. And I was like, bro, you talking to someone, like the type of work that I do, the organizations I work with, the people I work with, we were doing that work. What y'all refer to as wasteful DEI and wasteful environmental stuff, that was us trying to plant trees in Black communities to lower people's utility bills. That was us trying to organize communities so they can make sure that they weren't getting the raw end of toxic exposures, or that people weren't building new facilities that were going to literally kill their children, like, or put lead in their water. Like, this stuff is real. It's happening. People are getting sick. People are dying. More Black children have asthma than any other group. And it's not because we're born with asthma. It's the communities we live in. And he was like, yo, I didn't know any of that. He was just kind of shocked that was all going on. It just made me think, like, dang, sometimes our messaging don't be getting through. When we put stuff on social media, if people don't really read the books, like, they don't know who Dr. Bullard is. They don't know who Dr. Wright is. They don't know any of this stuff. And they're making decisions based off narratives that got put on social media that all this DEI stuff and environmental stuff is just for white people. And it's like, man, it's the craziest thing that someone would think that. But again, everybody's not out there active like that. So people not really outside. People just looking on the internet. And I'm saying, you got to talk to people before you start determining that this stuff don't impact you. In fact, he had a child who had asthma. So it's like, whoa, like, yeah, bro, this is, the money was to help you. Now, the fact that it hadn't trickled down and we hadn't reached this person yet, and he's living in an EJ community. That just speaks to that we got to do more work as EJ activists to make sure people know what's going on. I think it's important to start getting back into them schools too, y'all, because a lot of the kids don't know what's going on with the environment and with environmental racism either. What else is going on out here, y'all? Let's see. So that's topic 1. All right, let's keep going then. Let's see. What else is happening out here, y'all? The legacy of Cancer Alley. Y'all know what Cancer Alley is? It's a strip along the 10 corridor, goes through the South, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi. And this is an area where the percentage or the rate of people who are afflicted with cancer due to toxic emissions and pollution is in some cases triple that of areas outside of this. This is what is racism and placism, the perfect intersection, right? Well, the EPA recently had in its rollback of DEI programming, it kind of left this area completely unprotected. So what does that mean for the residents in Cancer Alley? It means more death, more devastation, more destruction of their health and their lives. And it's just leaving communities of color to bear the brunt of our environmental mismanagement in this country. So not only are they rolling back the protections that allow people to stop certain facilities from being built, but then they also take all the funding away from the communities and the organizations that are trying to challenge that. So DEI, environmental justice is all the same fight. I think DEI is shorthand for I think removing DEI is shorthand for removing you. Like they're trying to get us out of the picture, the people who are trying to stop a lot of these problems. And again, if you want to learn more about this subject, I urge you to check out the book By Any Dreams Necessary. I really dive into why diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are a part of making the country more democratic, as I do not believe that the United States is a democracy. I believe it's the aspiration that we work towards at times, only to be dragged back towards white supremacy, racism, sexism, and oppression. So I talk about how we can make more gains in that ongoing struggle. And I really want people to check the book out because I want to hear what y'all think about it. All right, so now let's get to the juicy topics. Oh, I lost my screen, man. There we go. Let's see. What do y'all think about? Y'all think we going to? I heard people saying, we're on the verge of World War III. Y'all think that's the case? Is that hyperbole? Is it really gonna go down like that? I mean, it's a slippery slope, but I don't want to rule it out as it's impossible. You say no, Auntie Shirley? Why you say no? You think what's gonna prevent it? Or you don't think it's you saying it's not hyperbole? You think it's possible? You don't think it's far fetched? You got to elaborate on that. Why you say no? So let me get my 2 cents on it. Right, Iran is not Afghanistan, Iran is a regional power in the Middle East. They have wealth, they have allies, they have weapons, and they have the will and the right to defend themselves. So when Israel starts attacking Iran, and it appeared to be with U.S. backing from how it looks when you listen to Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, or when you hear President Trump talk about it, it seems that the United States kind of signed off and supported and potentially participated in it. It's hard to say because they kind of talk back and forth. But I try to look at it from Iran's point of view. Like if someone did that to me and I have a responsibility to defend the people in my country, then yeah, you have to retaliate. So then you think about what escalation might look like. That if Iran retaliates, Israel retaliates, the United States jumps in, Iran retaliates. Does Iran have allies who are going to come to their aid to defend them if the United States escalates the situation? With World War II and even World War One, then we could start with World War One. One of the ways it became such a widespread conflict was that all these countries had all these different alliances that they had formed, and mutual protection pacts and mutual defense pacts. So ultimately what happened is after there's an assassination in Serbia, Serbia is at war with another country. And then they pull Russia into it. The other country pulls Germany into it. They've been beefing for a minute. So now Germany uses it as an excuse to say, well, I already had beef with you and you. So now we about to get at both of y'all. So then Germany's like, oh, yeah, we had problems with them for a minute. We had this problem with France when they had took this province of Alsace-Lorraine from us a while ago. So they want to get their territory back. So now they start attacking everybody. Well, France has allies too. So they pull other people into it. And then when I think Germany goes to attack France, didn't they go through Belgium? And I think Belgium was supposed to be neutral or whatever. So they violate Belgium's neutrality. That brings Belgium's allies into it. That causes Britain to jump into the conflict. And then next, the United States comes in at the tail end. But I say all that to say these situations can easily escalate. And that's why war itself, man, I was just watching Crimson Tide, and I posted this on social media the other day. It was this great scene with, it's an old movie from the 90s with Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. They're on a nuclear submarine and they're trying to avoid a nuclear conflict. But Denzel, he's talking about the philosophy that goes behind war from a European context. And one of the philosophers, I forget his name, he was making the argument that the war serves itself. It's like almost like the purpose of war starts to serve continuing war. It doesn't serve the people. Like there's no true winners. Like you might gain resources, but at what expense? And then he said, then in the nuclear age, war itself is the actual enemy. And that's not an enemy that you could defeat. Right. So the only way to defeat it is to not engage. And I mean, we got all these countries out here with all these planetary destructive devices. And as Dr. King would say, we have guided missiles and misguided men. And that's what I see every time I turn on the news. There's more guided missiles and more misguided men just killing and destroying. And I mean, just what Israel has been doing and to the Palestinian people and now the attacks on Iran, it just seems so the lack of concern for human life is just really disheartening that humans have not evolved to a point where we could settle conflicts without violence. And it's like, how do you it gets crazy because we talk to our children, we talk to young people, and we're like, we don't settle issues with violence. We're civilized people. And then you turn on the news and it's like everybody's settling issues with violence. So it's like, how do we tell people not to go shoot stuff up and when you get mad to use violence when we don't hold anyone in the world to that same standard? And I know there's a different level of different degree, but some of these principles should be universal. I just don't think it's feasible to solve all your problems with violence. And that just seems to be the way that certain humans want to settle issues. And it bothers me. I'd love to hear what y'all think about that. Am I tripping? Am I just have I just become a tree hugging hippie in all this time that I just don't want war? Like, it just doesn't seem like it's gonna solve shit. Like, what's gonna come of this? Is Israel gonna be safer after they attack Iran? I don't see it. Is the United States going to be any? Are we going to get rid of our deficit? That's the problem. Are we going to address climate change or prevent the next pandemic? Those are the real threats. I don't think the people in Iran are a threat to us. Now, they could become a threat once we're in a conflict with them. And then when we're exchanging nuclear devices, sheesh, I don't even want to think about that, y'all. But I mean, people bombing nuclear facilities, it just doesn't. Does that get into the water stream? What happens to the people who live around Iran and their neighbors? Now, don't they have a vested interest in this? Don't we all like it? Man, just I think humans have to evolve, or just we're not gonna be here on this planet long. Yeah, I just don't see it, y'all. Like with all the problems we facing. Hey, what's up? What's up, Kels? All the problems we facing, people find reasons to fight each other. And maybe I'm wishful thinking that humans would evolve past that. Now, that's interestingly something I don't really cover much in my book, military strategy and war, because ultimately I don't believe that it's going to solve problems in the long run. I think it might get you immediate gains through direct conflicts and fighting. But I think in the long run, we have to be able to create processes to distribute power that don't involve violence. And I learned that from Dr. King, man. Nonviolence as a philosophy of human survival. And I don't think a lot of people buy into that. I think people kind of have a lust for violence, especially Americans, because I think because there hasn't been widespread attacks on American soil, people have been protected from it. And like, you just imagine how shocked we are when there's a mass shooting, right? It's terrible. Or when we see that, hundreds of people die in an incident. That is traumatizing to everybody. So imagine when that's going on day after day outside. Like how we haven't had that experience. I don't think America's had that experience since the American Civil War. And that was demoralizing to the country. So I couldn't imagine that situation. I don't want to imagine it, but it seems like there's a contingent among us who wants to bring us to that situation. It's like they don't want to handle things peacefully. They prefer to handle things with violence. And I think we at our own peril will allow them to push all of us into a situation where war outside is our reality. And I don't mean the crime conflicts that we have going on in America. It's already unsafe enough here with that. But I mean mechanized industrial warfare happening outside, like what's happening in Palestine right now. That can't be contained. Like when you open those cans, they could spread. And I just don't think it's something that we should play with, because I don't think you could put that toothpaste back in the tube after you start dropping bombs on people. And the fact that it hasn't happened to us, I think that has a lot to do with luck and geography, but that can only protect you for so long. And all history teaches us that. So it will behoove us as a species and as an American people to be reluctant to get into these military conflicts. Y'all quiet tonight, man. Nobody talking to me. So anyways, y'all, check out the book, By Any Dreams Necessary. I'm here every Monday, 9:30 p.m. right here on every social media outlet that I have, just talking about issues, what's going on in our communities, what's going on in the world. I know I had a kid ask me, a young man today asked me, was he going to get drafted? And I told him that, the United States doesn't have a current conscription policy. But then I had to pause on that because I thought back to Project 2025. And it does have some pre-conscription ideas in there, and they've been running the Project 2025 playbook very effectively. So that is something we need to be considerate of. Will our young men be drafted into a conflict that we don't even support? That's worrisome. Well, not a lot of action tonight. Y'all not very talkative. So I'll be back next Monday, everybody. Until then, Dr. Bruce Strouble Jr., the author of By Any Dreams Necessary, available on all major outlets where you buy your books, and especially on my TikTok shop. You can check the book out. It's available paperback, audiobook, ebook, and hardcovers. Most of the people who've read it have given me excellent feedback. Let me share this. Some of the criticism I get about the book, people think it's not long enough. That trips me out because I was intentionally mincing my words when I was putting the book together. When I was editing, I took entire sections out because I was like, I'm overdoing it. I want this to be a easy read for people to get introduced to environmental justice and environmental racism, people who weren't familiar with it, but then also for people who understood or wanted to learn more about how policy works. I wanted to kind of give people policy analysis frameworks that they could utilize. And then I also put into it a lot of just strategic planning lingo. Like, there's a SWOT analysis of the Black community in the book where I assess the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in Black communities. And then also I take a chapter just to kind of put out different proposal ideas that I have on different types of programming that we could operate at a community level with minimal external support. And then I even have strategic priorities that the Black community could adopt at local levels that they should be aspiring to, but it requires a degree of organization to execute a lot of the ideas in the book. But I'm really excited for more people to read it, to get more feedback, to respond to it. I want to read y'all books too, man. But I think it's an important discussion that we need to have about how we move forward. And I don't pose to solve all problems. I only pose to start the development of the planning process that I think will move us closer to solving our problems. But I think that the premise of the book is that we as a people have to be intentional about our survival. I think there is almost, because Black people are people of faith, we are heavily faith-based people, and there's this understanding that I think people have often that we gonna be all right no matter what, right? But when I was always taught about faith, it was that faith without work is dead, and if Black people don't do the work and just have faith, they will be dead. And I mean that collectively, that we will not survive. There's too much working against us for us to haphazardly move through life, like from pandemics to economic stagnation, the climate crisis, to violence in our communities, to our health issues that we're facing. We have to really start being intentional about this. And intention for a community can't happen at an individual level. We need organizations. We need a collective group looking at our issues, talking about what we need to do, setting agendas, setting goals, and then we need to be working towards them. So that's the kind of work that I do. And you can ask anybody who knows me, like anybody who knows me in real life off the internet. When I'm not here talking, I'm actually out doing the work. I'm trying to organize communities, sometimes to my detriment. I got to get better at keeping my work-life balance, because I'll be 100% in, and my friends be like, yo, you got to take a break. You're doing too much. But I'm that committed to the survival of Black people. Come on, baby. You want to come up? My cat wants to come up. Come on. I'm that committed to the survival of Black people, and it's that important to me. I think it's something we have to do more than just talk about. We have to be intentional. I want to know what y'all think about that. What do y'all think about intentionality of survival for Black people? Do y'all think we could just throw it all on faith and just be like, God got us? Like, like Kendrick sang the song, long as God got us, we going to be all right. Y'all think that's going to be the case? We don't have to do nothing? We don't have to work for it? I don't know. What does that look like 50 years from now? Will Black people of the future be in a worse situation if we don't take the necessary actions today? Oh, this is stormy weather, y'all. Yeah. Any other time she would ignore me, but because I'm on the internet right now, she want to come jump in the camera. Hilarious. All right, no comment, no comments. All right. I guess y'all are watching the news. It's all good. It's all good. I ain't gonna force it. You have to put some action behind those words. I hear you. What kind of action do you want to see, Kels? What does that look like? Where you going, kitty? Hey, so what's good, bro? We just talking about intentionality for the Black community. Will the Black community just be all right, as the song says, if we just leave it all? People want to leave it all up to faith sometimes, and I worry that that's not going to be enough, bro. That we got to be more intentional about securing our future on this planet. What you think about that? Talk to me. So that's Kels is saying, through your money, through your sweat equity, through time invested. Yeah, 100%. Where we spend our money, what we spend our money on, we have to be intentional, right? And that's why I got a homie, and he always like, man, I don't feel the need to support Black businesses. And he has this whole thing because he doesn't think that Black business owners give enough back to the community. And I always disagree with him because I was like, if you don't support Black businesses, who else is going to support them? And then how does the community advance? All right. So uh, with all the problems we have, there are places we have to start. We need businesses that hire us. We need to support those businesses. Oh, my bro, MJ, he says we need to start populating other parts of the world and start civilizations there, not just in America. You're gonna have to elaborate on that one for me, bro. I want to know what you mean because we all over the world. Um, so yeah, we are free to leave. And does moving, I talk about that in the book. I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's in chapter 9. I talk about, do we need to strategically relocate? Because there's a lot of people who want to just move to Ghana. It's people who want to move out of certain communities. And I think certain communities are at a point where we can't reclaim them. Like we just don't have the necessary capacity to win back some of our communities. And I won't name them right now, but I think in future lives, I would love to have that discussion with y'all. Like, what are some communities that it's beyond our ability to salvage? And people need to really start looking at leaving those areas. Now that's a difficult discussion because people are tied to the name, right? They're like, I'm from this hood, this is where I grew up. I ain't never gonna leave. I'm gonna die here. But it's like, should the community die there though, bro? Like, is it any saving that community? Like, and I give specific criteria in chapter 9 for when it's time to wave that white flag in that community. Like, yo, we gotta abandon this area. Like, if the community's polluted, you can't have healthy children there. If you go outside to talk to other people and try to organize, and people want to kill you for trying to organize, if it's riddled, there's no ability to reclaim that community, it might be time to relocate. But where do we go? Where do you go in that situation? A lot of people are like, let's go to Africa, let's go to Panama, let's move to Brazil. And it's like, I mean, That sounds good, but those might be good at an individual level, but is it something that could work for a communal approach, right? And then I know a lot of people who are just like, hey, we're gonna do it every person for themselves. I don't think we win like that though. So I think we have to be thinking collectively. We need to move as a tribe and as a global society. Okay. I like that. I like that, Ace. Intention on steroids. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. We need to move as a tribe, huh? Um, hmm. I hear you. Let me think on that for a split second. Can't put all our eggs in one basket. I agree. Diversity in your strategic approaches till you find what's working. I think one thing is people are so caught up on what's not going to work that they're waiting for something to be perfect. What if there is no perfect single one solution for the people? What if it's a factor of us doing multiple things and those all moving us forward differently? I think that's something we got to consider. Basket equals nation. So don't put all your eggs in one nation. All right. So you're saying we need to become but we already are. So if that, the problem is you could find anywhere Black people are on the planet, they're still being oppressed, even on the continent. So that's why I still think the intention has to go beyond just being somewhere else. If we're talking about we want to have Black people thriving, we're going to have to intentionally create that. So then what are the steps necessary to create thriving Black communities? And that brings you right back to, you can see it right there in the top right hand corner, by any dreams necessary, where I'm trying to lay out like, what does it even mean to have a successful Black community? What would that look like in 2025 or in 2032 or 2041? Right. And I think ultimately, I say this in the book, communities are social technology and they serve a purpose. The purpose of a community is to allow people to live in proximity to one another and share resources and burdens. Right. So that's what a community is. So then now, you look at, now we know what a functional community is. Now we can identify what is community dysfunction, when it's something that prevents us from being able to successfully live in proximity, and it prevents us from being able to spread benefits, maximize benefits, and share and split up the burdens, right? So if the hardship is only going to one group of people and the benefits are going to somebody else, that's anti-communal behavior, anti-social. And that's what seems to be happening in Black communities. The benefits seem to be being handed out to us. I'm sorry, handed out to a certain group. And a lot of times they're not even Black. And the burdens seem to be dumped on us in excess. And that's how we get these grotesque disparities between us and other groups here. So a lot of my book is just like identifying these are the disparities that we're facing. This is where our communities are not functioning properly. This is the reason our communities were not functioning properly. And these are ways we need to start thinking about fixing these dysfunctions in our communities. So it's not, I mean, I think it's a 6-hour read. If you get the audiobook, it's 6.5 hours. You read it on your own, you might be able to go faster. But I think you come out of this book with a framework for, okay, these, even if you don't agree with the priorities I said, you could be like, this is the direction we need to be moving in. These are what he identified as problems, but I also see these problems. And it just allows you to say, or like in my specific community, these are my problems that we're facing. And these are some of the goals we could take from this book and apply them to our locale. So yeah, man, I just want people to check this book out. I want to have more of these discussions. Okay, so my bro said we need to start looking at places where our numbers are low, even in the United States, like Idaho and Montana. I'm open to the idea, bro, of Black people relocating to those areas, but we also have to, it's almost like you to have successful relocation, you got to have some kind of infrastructure in place. So people need to go there, organize, create something that other people could come into. So like, for example, the way they settled the Midwest in the late 1800s is like you could come there, get land. They had farming programs, and this was mostly for white people at the time. Black people were participating in this in limited numbers, but I think the Sooners and the land booms in Oklahoma, it's like they took all that land from the indigenous Americans, and they're like, boom, we got all this land. White people, come get you a plot of land right now. You get there, and then they bring in our farm agents. We're going to teach you how to farm this land, how to grow what we need in this country. And it's like, boom, they just took immigrants in the underclasses from the East Coast, and they moved them all through the country. Black people would need something to that degree. It doesn't have to be identical to how the United States government did it, but something like that, where it's like, hey, people from these dysfunctional communities that are beyond repair, we got jobs opening up that are hiring Black people. You could get a living wage and you could work here. You could get land. You could get something, housing, something that will give people the incentive to abandon these destitute areas. And I don't necessarily mean these areas are just simply impoverished. I just mean they don't have the capacity, the social, economic, or political resources to make advancements. And there's no interest or intentional actions to build them there. Then you might need to leave that community and go somewhere else. Okay, bro. Yes, drop a link to the audio book. Thank you for asking. It is at you can get the audio book. It's on Amazon. It's everywhere. It's on Spotify, but you could also get it on StroubleJr.com, and I'm putting that link in there. Boom. There you go. So yeah, check it out, Ace. I hope you like it, man. I definitely, after you get it, and you get a good couple of chapters in, come back and discuss it with me, because like when people be like, when you write a book, man, it'd be crazy because people be trying to catch me in the streets and like, hey, I read that chapter, I didn't agree with this, brother. You said it. I'm like, yo, it's cool. Like I don't need y'all to agree with me on everything. I just want y'all to read it, and then I want to hear what you think. Now you go out, and now we got that conversation going. So somebody tracked me down the other day. I was at a conference, and a sister walked up to me, and she was hot. She was like, how could you leave out the Nation of Islam's economic plans? And I was like, yo, I said at the beginning of the chapter, I'm only talking about, this is about chapter 2 of my book, where I review a lot of the different plans for Black America. I was like, I'm only talking about the ones that I'm most familiar with and that fit my feasibility assessment model. And sis was not having it. So I was like, okay, if I write another version of the book, I will go back and include that, because it is a worthwhile plan to analyze, but I didn't. And then I looked at, for example, O'Shea Jackson's plan, that the one that Ice Cube had. I talked about the Black Panthers 10-point platform. I looked at some brothers out there who had what was known as the long-term strategic plan for Black America. I looked at Trump's plan that he had in his first administration. I looked at Biden's plan. I looked at the NAACP's, the Movement for Black Lives. I looked at all their plans, and I was just like, just through a structured process, try to do it as objectively as possible. These are the parts that are feasible. These are the parts that are going to be hard to accomplish. And here's how this plan could be useful. So I tried to take the utility out of all of them. As I built my own, I looked at what everybody else had done, and I looked at Amos Wilson's Blueprint for Black Power. And I remember my mama had that book when I was a kid. It was right next to, she used to have on our bookshelf. It was Blueprint for Black Power by Amos Wilson, Shea and Diop. They came before Columbus, and then we also would have Akbar's books too, Breaking the Chains of Psychological Oppression. So having all those books and accessing to as a kid, I knew exactly what I wanted when I started writing. I was going back to like, yeah, this is exactly what I want to accomplish. So yeah, man, check it out. It's right there, BruceStroubleJr.com. The link's gonna pop up for you to buy everything as soon as you get there. But please get a copy. Come back. Let's discuss it. This is a discussion I think we have to have, y'all. Like, this is what people should be talking about. Like, how can Black people be intentional about securing their future on this planet. I think when Malcolm used to say by any means necessary, or by any means necessary, he was like, Black people have the right to live with dignity. And I think that was stating the intention that it's not like, you can't just be like, oh, we have the right to be here. That right has to be defended, protected, demanded, and advanced at all times. The minute we take our eyes off that prize, we have seen repeatedly, we start focusing on other stuff, they're going to pull those rights right back from us. So we have to be, and I learned this from our Jewish brothers and sisters, like they be serious about that. This will never happen to us again. We will never end up in that situation ever again for the future of the human race. And I want Black people to have that same intentional determination that we will never be put in chains. We will never be anybody's slaves, and we'll never be allow ourselves to be treated and mass shipped all over the planet how we were before, and treated that way. But I can't be alone in saying that, and we can't. We can have division amongst ourselves, but we still need to be unified in that. That's not going to be allowed under any circumstances. So we got to get to that point, y'all. And I don't think we're there yet, but I think it's possible. But I think it starts with having these discussions and being intentional and taking the education of our young people serious. Where y'all at, man? Where them comments at, man? Okay. Oh, Serenity's back. Oh, me and Serenity got into it, y'all. Let me tell y'all what I was fighting with my sis about. Because she was on here and she was saying, yes, Serenity, I'm telling on you, sis. She was like, we about to have World War III and we bombing Iran because y'all didn't want to vote for Kamala. And I thought about it and I was like, yo, I don't know, man. And I know my Democrat friends about to get mad at me, but I want y'all, can y'all promise me, can y'all say with certainty that Kamala wouldn't have took this action against to defend Israel? It seems like that's like a hallmark of America's state. Anywhere national politics, you have to be, for some reason, like extremely pro-Israel, even to the detriment of the United States. So you're to the detriment of your own community. You have to be pro-Israel. Like I was watching something where they were, it was like a New York mayoral race, and they were asking all the candidates, it's like, where's the first place you would go, the first trip you would go on after being elected? And like everyone, like clockwork, was like, I would visit Israel. That's the first visit I would make, is I would visit Israel. And then one dude was like, he's like, I want to defend the Jewish communities right here in New York. And like everybody was like, look, he don't want to go to Israel. He's anti-Semitic. And I was just like, yo, this is crazy. Like you can't even have any freedom of thought around this idea as a politician in the United States. And that just shows how significantly strong that lobby is. And I don't think it's anti-Semitic to say that people have a very strong lobby and they're powerful, and that you can't critique, you can't deviate from the narrative without risk of being unseated or losing your electoral race. And that gets to a lot of the larger issues in politics in this country. With all the money in politics, it makes it possible for outside influences to just pretty much buy your elections. But yeah, that so many things to talk about. But yeah, so with that said, I lost my train of thought. But the point I was making is that I don't know that any of the recent presidents we've had would stand up to Israel and be like, no, you started this fight with Iran, now you have to finish it on your own. Like, I feel like all of them would feel obligated to save their political capital, to protect their political careers. They would feel the obligation to step in and defend Israel. And I think that would go for Obama, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, Bush, Trump, Kamala. I don't. Y'all tell me where I'm wrong at. Tell me why you would think I would be wrong about that. I don't think this situation that we have now, maybe they might do it with more class. They might spend more time at the negotiating table. But I definitely think. I remember Wall saying that they weren't. If they thought Iran had a nuclear weapon, they would definitely attack those facilities. So I don't think it's that far fetched. So yeah, me and sis, we got into it on a little Instagram spat. I wonder if she's gonna chime in now that she's talking about her. No? Okay. Yeah, I know we've been all over the place tonight, y'all, but I thank y'all for coming out, kicking it with me for a few minutes. I'm about to hop off this live, but yeah, man, it's real out here. Check out the book by Any Dreams Necessary: Anti-Racist Strategies for Sustainability, Resilience, and Environmental Justice in African American Communities. Available on all major platforms in all formats: ebooks, audiobooks. The copies are moving. More people are reading it. The movement is growing. I want y'all to be a part of it. It is a expression of resistance, thought, creativity. And I think the more people who get involved in that, it's going to inspire you to take action, whatever that action may look like in your particular life and in your particular community. So hit the comments if you're watching this later. I'll be back next Monday at 9:30 p.m. Oh, thank you, bro. And yeah, we'll connect offline and start talking about community development and strategies, y'all. That's what I'm all about. Peace, everybody. Have a good night.